Of our broadcast, and we had some transmission problems. The sound wasn't working, so we had to we went into our hearts in the light of the terrorist attacks that just happened in Paris, where at the present count what we're really looking at is how is the search for love relevant in a world where stuff like that happens. And what I'm saying is that this search for love, this discovery of love in us as a primary force is profoundly important, but we really need to look at the details of that. Now, the vast majority of people will not agree with what we're speaking about here. They will not recognize that love is an appropriate response at a time like that to actions like that. So we need to slow down, we need to look at what love really is, how it operates, how it works, what it is in us, what it is in the world. And so the meditation we just finished was to open our hearts to ourselves, to go into the source of the heart through heart sourcing, and to allow that warmth, that light inside of us to shine on and be received by the layers of fear or anxiety that this event may have caused, and any other obstructions that we feel in terms of negative thoughts or emotions. So as we're doing this, we create a space inside of us that is not part of the insanity. A space inside of us that operates from love. And this is not a personal love, it's an all-embracing love. And when we have activated that love in us, when we have something to give, which always has to be the first priority, then we can send this love to different people. And we began with the people who were directly hurt in these events in Paris. Their family members, their close ones, their friends, people who had a direct engagement in that terror. And then we expanded the love to all the people in the city of Paris who are so shaken up, who are now insecure that their wonderful, vivacious, open, free lifestyle may be in danger, that their very lives may be threatened. And we expanded our love to all the people in France, to all the people in Europe, to all the Western people. And you know already there's something wrong here at this point, that we need to go further. We need to now include all the Muslim people. We need to include all the people in this planet. Yogi Bhajan used to say, if it's not love for all, it is not love at all. So if we want to have real love, who can we exclude? And then we have to take one more crucial step. And that is to realize that the people who are so profoundly confused that they commit terrorist acts and believe that to be a good thing, to offer their lives to this cause, they most urgently need our love. Now, when I say this, you may have a reaction, because with that, what comes up is your anger, your fear, your sense of revenge, your sense of, well, something has to be fixed here. And I completely agree. The question is how and by what means. The question is, what is love? In a time like this, when the Pope now begins to speak about a third world war, that we're already in it. What is love in this circumstance? And the first thing we need to realize is that love is not some kind of a mushy, feel-good emotion. Love is the very ground we stand on. Everything we experience how? We experience in our consciousness. This is where the world takes place, in our consciousness. And love is what gives power to that consciousness. Love is the Shakti that allows consciousness to become alive. Without love, consciousness is flat and powerless. So love is not some little thing. And love is not something that the personality knows. Baron Katie says very well, personalities don't love, they want something. And with that, love is distorted. So love can be in service of the deluded mind, in service of the mind that is under the veil of ignorance. Love can be in the service of ahamkara, the ego, that I want, I want, I want. Or love can be in service of our awakening. And it is the greatest power that allows us to become free. I want to read you just a paragraph out of Nisargadatta's book, I Am That, where he asks, does love act deliberately? Yes and no. Life is love, and love is life. Let me read this again. Life is love, and love is life. What keeps the body together but love? What is desire but love of the self? What is fear but the urge to protect? And what is knowledge but the love of truth? The means and forms may be wrong, but the motive behind is always love. Love of the me and the mine. The me and the mine may be small, or may explode and embrace the universe, but love remains. So in this very basic thing he says about love, we get to see that love is something very different from a little personal emotion we feel towards someone else. The acts of the terrorists are propelled by love. And so is the defense of the West. Everyone loves the me and the mine. And what we get is a terrible mess. A war that no one can win. So that is not the level on which we can stay in our understanding of love. Because here love is Maya, it is in the service of confusion and delusion. But love has a power to free us. Love is in its very nature universal, all-embracing. How small is a love that is constricted by fear and only concerns its own little world, its own little ego-based interest. And that can be the will of Allah as I understand it. Or the right of the nation to defend itself. There's a very authoritative report now on the figures of casualties caused in the Muslim world. And it speaks about 4 million dead in the last number of years since this war against terror has begun. 4 million people. This is news that is not broadcast in the West. You have to search for it. So you see, both sides in this conflict are acting under delusion. Both sides are creating tremendous suffering. What then is it good for? And that is a profoundly important question we must ask. Because when we don't see how something serves us, then it cannot serve us. We have to be aware. Byron Katie's famous saying, everything happens for us and not to us. So how does this war on terror and this terror happen for us and not to us? In the young spirituality of the West, it is often assumed that we're going to change the planet and it's going to be a planet like a paradise. Well, it doesn't seem to be happening, does it, my friends? This is not a paradise planet, as we are all noticing now. This is a planet that serves people greatly, whose desire is to awaken. And it serves them to a very large extent through the suffering we encounter here in this world. We have to come to the point where the madness becomes so obvious that we become determined to find a different solution, a different answer, where we're no longer battling on the horizontal level, pushing the events of the world this way or that way, where we realize there is a vertical direction in which we can go, vertical up, or in our case, in our work, into the heart. Into finding the source of all-encompassing love inside of us. that has the power to free us of our own delusion, our own confusion, our own suffering that happens in us. Let us create a paradise here. We are capable of doing that. And if enough of us doing that, then we reduce the real estate for suffering and confusion in the world around us. That it is up to us, it is up to our life. If our life can become filled with love, then we have something to give. So if these events that happen and will continue to happen serve us in that way, then indeed they are of use. We have to get out of the kindergarten mentality of spirituality, which is still so prevalent. No one has the right to call themselves a light worker until they have seen the light in the greatest darkness. And you have seen it there, then nothing can scare you any longer. And then you can act decisively using the power of love that excludes no one. And especially not the one who offends you. Because he has for you a precious teaching. And that does not mean to give in to people who are wantonly hurting others. For their own sake, they need to be stopped. If someone is on a track to hurt people, that means they hurt themselves. And love would stop them in their track. But we cannot look at this in a social, broad view. We have to look at each universe, at each individual. What is happening in that soul? Is the policeman or the soldier who kills a terrorist, is he filled with anger? Or is he driven by a love that includes the person he is fighting against? Now, that may seem like a very high, tall order, and it is. And I'm not saying many people are reaching this at this moment. That doesn't mean we don't have to aim for it. Love is the very ground we stand on. Love is what we all are. But when we're confused, when we're under delusion of ego, then that love creates unspeakable suffering. So it is up to us to aim for clarity and for peace inside of us. That is the one place where we are empowered or can find empowerment to achieve it, inside of us. That is our job. That is our task. We've tried to fix them for thousands of years. In our great wisdom of how we know they should be, so we could be in peace. Well, let's cut out the middleman. We are either in peace or in war inside of us. And that is up to us. So let's find the means to stop the war in the mind. the war around the heart, the layers of obstructions that do not allow us to find that amazing, unconditional, complete love that waits inside of us. It has waited there forever to be discovered. Let us not crawl into a shell of anxiety because of these events, but let's break the shell. Let's become free. This is what we're called by events such as these to do. No, not one of us has less of a potential for love than a Jesus, a Saint Francis, a Mother Mary, a Buddha. We all have the same potential. Let's start to use it. And we need to begin with us. We need to have before we can give. This is not an act of ego. It is an act of wisdom. And it is not difficult. What is difficult is to remain the same, to remain afraid, to remain small in a shell of anxiety, a shell of desire, a shell of attachment that refuses to see the greatness of what we are. So what can we do practically now? We can do something that may not seem practical, but it's eminently practical. We can go into our own beings, into our own hearts now, deeply, deeper than all the anxiety and fear or desires, and in that place decide to seek our freedom, our love, our awakening, first of all. Make it more important than all the other many things we want. And if we do this seriously, deeply, profoundly, then the layers of illusion will peel away over time. And we will free the access to the deepest heart, the Hridayam, our true identity as loving awareness. And with that, we have the instant power to change our world, the world of our experience, and connect from that world of peace with others who are also seeking a world of peace. And I thank you for being on this path with me, with us, with all of us together. Namaste.